Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are having an awesome Wednesday. I'm Jamie Wright, and I'm here with Live with Jamie Wright. It is officially Hump Day, and we are officially halfway through the week. So first, I'd like to introduce you all to my production manager, Kristen Brown. Kristen will be answering your questions and just helping making sure the show runs smoothly as usual. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to start off first by doing all of my sponsorships and letting them know how much we appreciate them and their alliance with us here at Live with Jamie Wright. So first we have Krakatoa Coffee Company. Up next we have Vurchoo Apparel. Then we have Big Ted's House of Drums. Bye Bye Belly. Paw Alkaline Water. Upstate Graphics and Imaging. Crab to Go. Custom Creations by Lesley. All right, so we have a very special guest today that I've had the pleasure and honor of knowing for quite some time now, for quite some years, probably about, I'd say it's been at least 12 years that I've known Dawn. So before we bring her on, I'm going to go over a few details, very informative details about her career and her background. And of course, we'll learn more today as we go through our interview. So let me go ahead and get right down to her background. Vegetator in Chief of Herb and Eats. I love that. Vegetator in Chief of Herb and Eats. LLC and author of top-selling soul food vegan cookbook at Flavor My Plate, Your Tasty Vegan Guide to Health Wealth. Dawn Hilton-Williams is passionate about all things radicalizing wellness and vegetation and flavor. A Cornell certified whole food plant-based professional. Dawn holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science and has more than 15 formal years of culinary experience. She's an award-winning poet, a playwright, a producer. Dawn focuses her energy on the work to move communities from health poverty to health wealth through her vegan food justice advocate partnership and brand. Viewers, please help me welcome Dawn to the show with plenty of heart and likes. Hello,
All
Dawn.
right, let's get it. Hey, how are you? Hi, Jamie.
How are you doing?
Good. Trying to keep high energy at the end of hump day. You know how that
I
is.
know, right?
Ooh, gotta get the energy together.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and just get right into things. But before we start, how are you doing? Everything going well for you?
Everything's going great. I'm launching some new product lines, so I'm a little bit, frazzled. But you know how it works. Jamie's known me a long time, guys. Definitely over a decade, and has been a great talent. You all know. If you don't know, I'm sitting here shouting Jamie out of her show. But Jamie is an outstanding talent. She needs to be on America's Got Talent. And I don't know what we're doing here, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Jamie has a beautiful voice and is a beautiful person. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. But it's so funny that this ended up happening mainly because I was bored. I was like, I got to find something to do because I like to stay busy, Dawn, and I like to, and I like to be entertaining. So I was like, well, I can't really do what I love to do, but I can do something else that I like to do.
It really limits your abilities in COVID time, right? So
exactly, most definitely.
Well, most definitely. You say I have Miles behind us right here. You know me.
You have who behind you?
Miles Davis is behind us in the cut.
Oh, yes. Most definitely. Well, we're going to go ahead and get right into things, and we're going to start our first segment. And we have a couple, as you can see, I know you looked over things and just know how the show is going today. So I have a lot of questions for you. A lot of people have sent me questions and asked me, oh, make sure you ask her this and make sure you talk about that. So I'm loading you up with questions today, Dawn.
I'm ready. Listen, let's go. Let's go. And the thing is, I also wanted to add to that, Jamie, that I am a whole food plant-based certified nutrition professional. I didn't add that to my piece, but it's from Cornell University. So it's not just that I know how to cook for 15 years. I studied the health implications of how we eat and what that does to affect our health. So I'm happy to be of service and help the community get information.
Most definitely.
Yep.
So would you say that's what basically made you decide to turn your focus towards that would answer that question basically?
So, Jamie, as you know, I used to fix food. So Jamie was in one of the great talented singers in my play that I had running for a while. And she was literally one of the best voices in the play. And literally, I used to fix food as a producer, a cheap producer who wanted to be, I wrote the play, but I produced it. I used to bring food to the rehearsals for the cast. And I was making animal food. I was making animal protein, but organic. I thought it was healthy and all that. But what drove me to it, really, Jamie, was my husband, Anthony, who you know, had a health scare. He had some, this is a candid show. He had some problems that I thought would have led us to prostate cancer. And when I got the information that he had some blood in his stool for 3 weeks, and I'm being very graphic because this is real. I mean, we're living real life here. We're not pretending here. So,
Right.
And when I found out, because husbands will tell you the third week, they don't tell you the first week, husbands, So he tells me
Right.
3 weeks in. So I'd already seen forks over knives and some other things, and I knew that what could be causing. I'm looking for causation. I'm not just looking. Okay, you might have cancer. Immediately get an appointment with the gastro. Let's get on this. But what is it that's causing it? Because we never. So that's kind of what led me that way. I don't want to get too far ahead, and I didn't look all the way through your episodes because I like to be surprised a little bit. But what got me on the journey? I'm a writer. I'm weird. So what got me on the journey was my husband's health scare. And what kept me on the journey was my community. When I learn something and know better, I want everybody else to know. Because if we know better, we'll do better, or at least we'll have the information to do better.
Right. That's right. I'm glad to hear that is what that was part, not that your husband went through that, but that you have someone that's here that's trying to, because you have so many people that, I hate to say it, in our community that are like, I didn't have that father. Let me backtrack. I didn't have that father that I had to get on to about going to the doctor. I never had to say, Dad, you need to go to the doctor. He just went to the doctor, but everybody's story is not the same. Some people don't have, they have to make their parents go or their spouse go to the doctor. So I'm glad to know that you're out here educating people and trying to help them to, if they don't want to go to the doctor, there's other things you got to do to keep from going to the doctor, if you want to stay out of the doctor. So I'm glad to know that you're taking time out of your schedule to help educate other people. And even myself, like I was looking forward to this episode today because I really wanted to learn more, because I have some fears about vegan life. Believe it or not, I know that might sound weird, but I do.
Right. We don't have fears about the food that's filled with cancer and heart disease, but we're scared of that broccoli, boy. The broccoli is dangerous, but not the dead animal. That's crazy. Well, that's kind of a conditioning. We've been, it's been normalized. And again, it's just a re-education. Just like the miseducation of the Negro, we have an entire miseducation of the standard American diet. We've all been duped, honestly. So we'll get to it.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna keep on going. So with that being said, are there ways that are, and I know you're educating the community, and I know we talked a little briefly before about 2 weeks ago, and you told me about some things you're doing that outside of just educating, but what are some things that you're doing in the community volunteer wise, or just, are you talking with children as well, or any particular groups here in the area?
Right. So I work with Leola Robinson Simpson. She is the House of Representatives for District 25. I actually did a recent COVID-19 food desert and COVID relief effort for 6 weeks in District 25 in Greenville, which is off of Augusta Road area. It's one of our food desert communities that, where there's no access. A food desert is an area where you're within there's no grocery, there's no fresh produce within 1 mile of where you live. So you don't have access. It's a food access problem. You might have convenience stores and liquor stores, but you don't have any fresh vegetables, right? So that is a food desert. So we actually gave away, I actually bought every week, I brought in a hot meal, which I provided, and we identified 50 community folks that couldn't even get out. A lot of agencies had where you can drive up and pick up free free produce or free food. But some people can't get out of the house. It's like the sick and shut-in folks. These are the people that can't get out. They're in the community. They don't have a car. I mean, you want people to go and get groceries on a city bus? And Greenville doesn't even have like a city bus system that's robust. Right. So we went out we went to the Pleasant Valley Community Center, and every week on Saturday we left from there, and Leola's son, Shakir Robinson, who's over Center for Educational Equity, we partnered with them. and Maranatha Farms, who provided lettuce. We had tomatoes, broccoli, cauliflower. We had all kind of fresh vegetables that you'd actually cook every week, and a hot meal every week different for those 50 people in that community. We went door to door and we distributed them with young folks. Young people that were a part of Center for Educational Equity literally passed it out every week to those same 50 folks for 6 weeks.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was great. And we did a survey at the end, and all those folks, they didn't know it was vegan. I just said, like, marinara sauce or shepherd's pie. We didn't say it was vegan. We just kind of said it was good. It's good food. So why do you have to say it's vegan?
Right.
And at the end, they were more interested in the vegetables, and we gave them fruit and produce every week. They look forward to their bag. So we did that recently. We also work with area churches. Long Branch Baptist Church, we work with a lot, and we do education, and we go in and do cooking demos, and we go in and do talks, education 101, if you will. And we go in and do talks, and we're doing virtual class with Clemson here in October something. Don't ask me the date, Jamie. I don't know. Clemson's bringing me in for something, and I worked with Prisma Health just last week on with sickle cell. That's our community. Sickle cell. We had an event with them, a drive-through charity event where I provided free sweet potato chili with soy chorizo, and they got the book Flavor My Plate. They all got a free cookbook. Everybody who drove through. So that's awesome. kind of what's going on right now.
So I know what you just said is important, because you just mentioned that you had the young people there with you that were helping pass out food, and I want to talk about this right quick. This is a little bit off of, but it's all good because I think this is important. Now, I grew up. This is not to make my parents look bad, but it's just the truth, and we got to tell.
Yeah, we're about truth. We got to show truth.
Right. So my parents both worked a lot when I was growing up. Of course, we were at home a good, I had older brothers and sisters, so we were at home a good bit, and we developed some really bad eating habits because of that reason. Even though we could cook, I'm like, y'all don't turn that stove on because we mess around and burn the house up. It's gonna be, don't turn that stove on. So we developed some very bad eating habits at a young age, and I think this is an issue in general, because when in a community, because some families have to work like excessively to keep the head above water, and of course no one's home to kind of monitor the eating habits. That's exactly what happened at our home, and the reason what made me think about that is because you had the younger children there with you, showing them the importance and just introducing them to a different food. And I would say I'm 41 now. I ate a lot of different food I had no business eating, but I didn't start eating. I didn't get introduced to food that was healthier for me until probably my mid-30s. So what I want to say, the fear that I have is that I will say, just from talking to you already, is that I'm just not educated on it. I just don't know. I don't know how to prepare meals. I don't know how. And the stigmata, or maybe even the stereotype, I would say, is that the food is so expensive. So what can you say about that? That can not put my mind at ease.
I'm so ready for all of this. Now hold on, Jake. That's for other segment. I'm gonna go into it now, though. But part of that touches on another segment. I did scan quickly. I did the quick scan. But the vegan food, if you go out there, so you have two things: the expense of it and the education of it, right? So the reason I wrote the cookbook, Flavor My Plate, Your Tasty Vegan Guide to Health Wealth, is because the first 6 pages of the book is education. And it's not 100 pages of education, because some people don't want 100 pages of education. We just want the highlights, right? Give me the highlights with the facts and the data to support it. Don't give me a bunch of yammer talk. Give me the facts, give me the data, and let me decide. And then here's some recipes that support it that are $10, $15 recipes to feed 6 people. Family of 6. So, or if you're greedy, it's 4 people. Depends on how you fix your plate. But you can be greedy with vegan because it's vegetables, right? It's nutrient dense. It's not calorie dense. It's nutrient dense. We'll get into that. But no, you can save up to $5,000 a year if you know how to shop vegan. You're buying whole grains. You're buying legumes, beans, nuts, seeds, and grains and fruit. How you will save money being vegan. But if you buy the Gardein and all the fake meats, and nothing, no slight against those fake meats, but if you're transitioning the first 21 days and you need to do that transition meat, that's fine. But after that, your palate should change. So you're going to adjust, and you'll be okay, because you're going to taste suddenly what a vegetable tastes like. Because I didn't remember what a vegetable tastes like. I liked pancetta, bacon, I liked, and I would buy fish. The fishmonger knew me. All these, I spent listen, I did what you did. I was used to meat and dairy, and I got the high-end artisan cheese, but that is not where the health is. And it's so, again, to go back to your question, you shouldn't be afraid of a quick learning. I have free resources on my resource on my website that point to quick, easy learning that's fact and evidence-based. You don't want just random stuff from the Google. You want facts and data that's supported by studies, evidence-based studies, not studies by the dairy industry that's paid the craft paid to give you the study compared to pork when it's milk. Of course, that looks better. So it's not hard. I can get you the education. And again, you can save up to $5,000 a year on a vegan lifestyle. Wow. I should say plant-based lifestyle. If you eat vegan, you can go to Impossible Burger and still have a heart attack. So we'll get into that later. But you go ahead and eat all that fake food if you want to.
Impossible Burger. Oh, we heard about the Impossible Burger.
You want low calorie, nutrient dense foods. So you're still going for, it's kind of the concept of the low fat, the low fat. So you want low fat, high nutrient food. And that's what you get with plants. And you get fiber, so you can use the bathroom. Fiber. You're not all the time running to the bathroom, but you got to have these things. And if you eat animal proteins, there is no fiber. The animal uses the fiber when it eats the protein. And animals don't have protein. It eats protein, just like you and I. So there is no special thing about eating the animal to get the protein. Actually, you're getting a third-party protein at that point. You're eating the protein it ate.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't have protein.
Now, that's one way to make somebody stop eating meat.
It's like it's like the Live or Memorex. That's an old commercial. That makes me 52. But when you get something secondhand, it's better to hear you live, Jamie, than it is to hear you on a tape. Because, the recording quality is good, but it's not as good as if you just heard me live, heard you live. So, I mean, there's just a different quality of product in sound in the entire experience. And when it comes to food, it's even more specific because that animal had to take away certain things when it ate the protein that came from the plant, because animals don't make protein. Humans don't make protein. Animals don't make protein. Plants are the only thing that can take nitrogen from the air and make them amino acids. And that's all a protein is.
Okay.
So I answered 10,000 questions, but go ahead.
No. I'm going to do, I normally I'm talking a mile a minute, but I'm going to be listening really hard today. I'm not going to be talking as much. So I don't want you to think because I'm not talking, I'm like lost for words. I'm just really trying to really soak up what information you're saying, what you're telling us. But I also want to ask you now, another question I have for you, how do you, my problem is this, and I wanted to go ahead and get into these questions now while they were fresh. The questions are just popping in my mind. I'm about to throw this paper across the room.
Yeah,
but the question that I have for you is, so what are some things that you would recommend someone do? Because for me, changing my diet is almost mental. It's not even about food, because I don't have a big desire to just sit up and be like, oh, I can't wait to eat this or that. I'm one of those people that I really just eat I really do. I eat to like feel fuel, but I often am in situations where I'm like, I just got to grab this or I just got to grab that because of my occupation. But I also I don't stop myself. I don't say, no, Jamie, you ain't supposed to be eating that. So what are some things that you might say someone could do to help them? Maybe, I don't know, yoga, meditation. What is something that somebody could do to help reprogram their mind? It's just educating yourself, like what you're saying now, just saying, hey, that's pretty gross to eat an animal and you eating third-party protein. You might have just changed my whole life just by saying that. So, I don't know.
Everything. So that's a very good question. I guess I would start with what I love, right? Start with, and everybody's not moved by the fact that it's a third party protein. Some people, listen, I've heard it all. People say you're going to die from something. My grandmother lived to be 150 years old and she ate everything from the rooter to the tutor and all this other stuff. But yeah, she couldn't walk. She couldn't even walk, right? And you thinking that's good. Okay, God bless the grandmothers, but she wasn't healthy when she left. We want to be thriving when we leave this place. But
Right.
you got to start with what you enjoy. If you enjoy tacos, if you enjoy chicken wings, if you enjoy certain kind of snacky foods, you cannot deprive yourself of the a semblance of that for the first 21 days when you're making your transition. So you got to do a little bit of education. I call it education, but education. You got to do a little bit of educating to make sure that you get some of those flavors and textures. That's why I'm okay with the plant fake meat the first 21 days, the little Gardein products and the no evil, all these different brands that you see now in the stores, but Beyond Meat and all that, they're very good for the transition. So,
Okay.
I would focus on what do I love? Okay, what do I love? I love lasagna. Okay, let me find some recipes that allow me, because those freeze very well up to 3 months, and you can make a batch of lasagna, cut them in squares, put them in the freezer, pull them out, and then have them with a salad or have them with whatever you want. But it's vegan because I
Right.
can make it taste like. I mean, I have a recipe on page something for that, and if not, I can tell you other resources where you can find free recipes online for soulful, delicious, comforting vegan. Not some plain, nothing plain. I'm not about things that are not flavorful. That's why I call it Flavor My Plate, right?
Right.
So we're not necessarily saying buy the Flavor My Plate book. You can or you don't have to. I don't really care if you do. But you need to find, if your flavor is your thing, you eat for resource. You eat for filling your belly. So you might just go to Chipotle and get yourself a burrito bowl that's got the sofritas. Or you might not want the sofritas, but you need the black beans because you're going to need the 15 grams of protein that 1 cup of black bean gives you, because you need up to 50 to 70 grams of protein a day. And animals get their proteins, remember, from plants. They do not generate or make protein. Not a single animal on this earth and not an animal swimming in the ocean make protein. Even animals in the ocean have to eat the sea vegetable to get the protein.
So where did myth come from? Why do people? I mean, because I really thought that. Like, I'm sitting here shocked. Like, I'm like clutching my. I ain't got no pearls on, but if I had some on, I'd be clutching them right now.
You'd be clutching them, yeah. So no one ever see. It was an assumption, right? And then there's so it's an assumption that protein comes from animals because that's what is marketed, and that's what the industry has the most money. The meat and dairy industry are very powerful lobby groups, and they get quite a bit of subsidy from our tax dollar. I mean, your burger should be $21.99 a pound because you're paying $20 a year, $20 in subsidies of your tax dollar to the beef industry.
Right.
So the burger is not $2.99 a pound; it's $22.99 a pound, right? So so those subsidies have to, those lobby groups and those subsidies are very wealthy, and they they promote meat, and they tell you it's high in protein. Yeah, it is, but it had to eat the protein first. It doesn't come with protein. A cow has a chicken has no protein unless they eat it.
Right.
But you don't know that because there's no benefit to marketing that. And then there's the other thing that says, oh, vegetables aren't a complete protein. Vegetables, they're not a complete protein. They're you have to eat something and pair with it. All the broccoli, brown rice, they're complete proteins. They have you need a certain number. We make some of the proteins ourselves, amino acids. The rest come naturally in the plant. That's why the animal eats it. Without it, the animal doesn't survive. And you get no benefit to an animal that hasn't had protein because it'd be dead. Right. It would be dead. It would be dead, not murdered dead, but dead from starvation, if you want to say it like that.
Malnutrition.
Right. So it's safe to
malnutrition and starvation. Right. It would not die a death of the slit here in the stab. It would die from starvation, malnutrition.
Right. Okay. So it's safe to say that that eating this so fake protein that they tell us that we're supposed to be eating, it's almost like it's bigger than just the meat. Sounds like it's almost like a money racket, or even somehow it's governmentally tied into making people believe that they can spend this amount of money on. I mean, am I going left field on this, or am I in the right direction? Because it just sounds like they're trying to make people believe something that really doesn't exist in order to capitalize on it. That's what it sounds like to me.
So it's a commodity. Okay. So think of government as an industry, as a business. There's a business aspect to government. So farmers votes. Think of politics and votes. Think of farmers in Iowa. Think of cow farmers think of dairy farmers, and think about subsidies. So it's a commodity. It's a subsidy, and they have to subsidize in order to get. I mean, it's not a racket, because there is protein in the animal, but it has to eat the wheat, and it's got to eat the grain, and the grass. It's got to eat it, or else it's not going to have any protein. I don't know.
Okay.
If it's just, I don't. It's not just. It's not. It's like It's not fully forthcoming. The U.S. dietary regulations that you see, the one-page thing that says My Plate, the My Plate one page, there are 400 pages, but you only see one page. The food pyramid has like 400 pages, and in there is the stuff about the protein and the dairy, the vegetables and the fiber and the nutrients. But it's on page 264. Again, I'm making up an arbitrary page number, but you only see the food pyramid. Right. So there are no scientists and doctors on the USDA board that makes the food pyramid. They all work for the United States Dairy Agriculture Association. They work in the industry that they're telling you to eat. So when you see the food pyramid, you see a piece of chicken on it in the milk. There are people that work for the milk. The vice president of the milk people are on the board. I mean, the person that works, lobbyists are on the board. There are no scientists on the board, doctors. I can tell you that right now. But you can look that up on USDA. You can find that out yourself. So I don't know if it's misdirection, but it's just what we've been doing for many years. So we've done it so long, it's been normalized. I don't think the intention is. I think it's money. It's just business. The business of health is $3.1 trillion a year, right? Business of chronic disease death literally is $3.1 trillion a year in healthcare. So $3.1 trillion in healthcare, you would think that somebody at some point would say, and this is only in the United States, this is here. You would think that at some point someone would say, what's causing all of this? Right. But they're not. They're doing, what doctors are great. They're trying to solve the immediate problem. Oh, you have a coronary artery disease. Let's put a stent in there. You have diabetes. Let me give you this insulin. You have heart disease. Let me give you some Lipitor. They don't have time in 15-minute visit to give you causation. Right. They're not going to study the underlying cause, because if they did, we'd save about $2 trillion a year. And we could put that towards something else as a government. But that's not what healthcare is about. Too many industries make money off of healthcare.
Apparently not. You're right about that. Now, I want to ask you one more question before we cut to our, we got a sponsorship spot. But I wanted to ask you, this might be a good question. I don't know the complete answer to this, so I'm going to ask it for myself too. What is the difference between vegan and just vegetarian?
Okay, so there's vegetarian. There's so many kind of vegetarians, and there's so many kind of vegans. But I'll make it short because we're going to break. They're a healthy vegan, which is rarely what you see. A healthy vegan is eating no animal, no dairy, no fish that brings no harm. Brings nothing that brings any harm to the planet, to the animal, to the environment. Right? They're not wearing leather. A classic vegan isn't wearing leather. They're not buying leather. They're not eating animals. They're not supporting industries that torture animals. None of that. Like hair shampoo companies that torture animals. They're not doing that. But your standard everyday vegan now, since it's so trendy, is not kind of following that protocol. But what they do is they don't eat animals and dairy. Now, your vegetarian, there are several kinds of vegetarians. There's a lacto-vegetarian. There's ovo-vegetarians. Those people range between, they eat cheese. Some of them eat dairy and cheese. Some of them don't. Some of them, they range in there. They normally eat dairy. A variety of kinds. And then there's the pescatarian that eats fish. It's a lot over there.
Yes, it is.
We can explore what the difference is between a whole food plant-based vegan, which is a healthy vegan, and an unhealthy vegan. Because there are a lot of unhealthy vegans out there that are really making it hard for people to transition to a vegan lifestyle because they get tired and sick by week 2. They're like, oh my God, I don't have a balanced plate. I'm so sick and tired. Well, because you went with a junk food vegan and started jumping on the train with them.
Okay.
So we'll get to that. Got to break or something.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say, The thought just jumped right out of my head. Oh, I was gonna say somebody had posted something online the other day. It was I kind of got tickled it because they was like, some of these vegans look like they eat regular food. They don't look like, they didn't look like. And then she said she had caught somebody at a restaurant eating some food that they really were to be eating, and they was claiming to be vegan. So I'm glad you answered that because I do feel like it had become somewhat trendy as well. Like it almost seemed like people were kind of just eating vegan just to, kind of like, I'm vegan, but
I'm vegan.
Right.
Well, what good for you? What do you all that vegan tells you is what you're not eating. It doesn't tell you what you're eating.
Right.
It tells you what you're not eating. It doesn't it tells you what you omitted. It doesn't tell you the technique in which what you omitted, what you now omit, what it is. You can fry cauliflower, you can fry mushrooms, you can deep fry a chocolate Oreo cookie, which is vegan. But listen, there are people that eat Oreos that are vegan. Why are you doing that? Just go ahead and eat a hamburger.
Right.
So there's got to be. So I'm the vegucator, and that's why I'm vegucator too, because I differentiate between healthy, low calorie, nutrient dense lifestyle versus the junk food vegan thing that is going to kill you a little. You have a little few more years, but you're still going to die terribly if you eat junk food. Nobody should be eating copious amounts of sugar and fat and thinking they're going to be healthy from that. And then, some vegans are hefty, but sometimes they're healthy. But we can get into that a little bit more. But trendy.
All right. We're going to jump to our sponsorships slot right quick. Mm-hmm. And let's see here. So last week we're really very, very grateful and appreciative to George Garcia, who has donated his project to the show. And it's called Crossover. And George is an excellent musician who I have gotten to know very well. But I did not know that George was performing for some playing for some of the artists that he plays for. So I'm going to go ahead and read a little information about his background, and then we'll go ahead and get into scroll down. There it goes. All right. So today we have George Garcia as our special sponsor highlight. George Garcia brings all the richness and melodic soul of Latin rhythms from his birthplace of Cuba. Garcia's intense passion for his instrument is immediately visible and colorful, audible through his unique original compositions, impeccable solos, and supportive rhythmic guitar. George Garcia has performed across the globe with the renowned and impressive talents of Tony Bennett, Richie Cole, Patti Page, Andrea Bocelli, The Drifters, and Enrique Iglesias. Garcia's new recording will hit the airways not only in the United States, but globally in 2020. The jazz fusion arrangements are gaining steam that will carry its unique sound across borders to countries including Canada, South America, Europe, Japan, and many more starting April 2020. So he's already out there. The music is already on the airways. He's already pushing it. So if you'd like to know more about George, please visit georgegarcia.com or contact Stephanie Snipes at 864-991-1833 or 954-793-7557. Again, George, thank you so much for supporting us here on Live with Jamie Wright. We're also giving away one of Georgia's CDs today based off of one of the questions. We will put the question in the comments tonight, and you can just answer it in there because we'll just do it that way because we got a lot more ground to cover here and we don't have time to waste. So all right, let's get back to our questions. Can you do it? Keep that light on. I was wondering why it was so dark here. We don't have it over here. I'm like, we sitting here.
I had to bring my little light over because I was like, production.
Yeah, we got our.
I'm used to theater. So
there we go. We got our little lights on here, but I'm like, something is missing.
Yes, I was like,
there we go.
Here? The sun has gone down. Okay.
Look, we on this. We about to go into this new time. We thought we still had some daylight left.
Right. Yeah, we missed that. That's exactly right.
So we're going to get right back into the interview. And folks, if you're watching, now would be a great time to start getting those questions prepared to put in our comments so Kristen can get those written down, or just read those off to us so we can ask Dawn any questions that you may have about vegan. I say the vegan movement or vegan life or vegan. Is that a word, veganism? Am I just making
yes,
it?
It is. There
It
is
is. Okay.
veganism. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And make sure you show us some hearts and likes, folks. Send us some love on here. So, Dawn, what made you decide to specifically focus on educating yourself on the vegan movement? Well, we talked about that, but I know, but just was it overall just the community or a combination? Is there anything else that we haven't discussed that really made you decide to kind of really, because I mean you're into it, like you're hardcore into it, because I follow your page and I see that you posting things. I did, and I ordered your book. I was going to order your book to try to get it before today, but I couldn't get it before today because I wanted to be
like, ask me for the book, Jamie.
Well, can I have the book, John? Listen, I'm all about supporting my people, though. I don't want you to give me that for free. I'm all about supporting. So, but if you're willing to give it to me, I will take it.
Send me. I'll give you the book. I have.
All right, I'll send you my address when we get up.
I don't keep a lot here, but I do have some in inventory, so I have some here. No problem. But
all right.
The veganism. Is there anything else that got me into it? So my husband's health scare, for those who might be just tuning in, my husband's health scare was a big, so you've got to have a why, right? So I assumed because everything I purchased was expensive as far as organic. I was buying organic everything. I was buying cage-free, range-free eggs, not even thinking that chickens don't leave because they're conditioned to stay in. The door can be right there. They're not going anywhere. And they're not in the door anyway. They're in a cage, a battery cage. So that's another conversation. But I assumed that I was making good decisions about what healthy was. So based on a standard American diet that is riddled with that was riddled with chronic disease. That's why, 50% of African American women will die of heart disease. Not maybe, 50% will. So two of us are sitting here, one of us is going to die of a heart attack. I don't want either one of us to, or heart disease. That's so right. What got me into it for the community was once I took that class with Cornell and that coursework, it took quite a bit of time to get through the coursework and the certification. But once I learned more, I wanted to share it because you can't, I was already in the food business. Urban Eats was already a brand before I began to become motivationally speaking on these. I thought I was going on TV with Jamarcus Gaston talking about healthy Parmesan crusted chicken. I was on TV shows and doing food segments with food that was health degrading. It was it was disease promoting. I had no idea. So once I knew and became educated, and then I started going to conferences where all the physicians from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine go. There were 16,000 of those physicians in the United States. And I go to those conferences for continuing education hours, and I began to meet them and work with them, and then continue my education by reading. There are tons of literature that's evidence-based. And once I realized, I figured it was my responsibility to share. It's my job to be helpful. And I was already in the business. So I changed my business model within the first 30 days of us changing to a plant-based or vegan diet. Lifestyle, I'll say, not a diet. And I lost 95% of my business right away. And my corporate part, all my corporate business, all of it was gone. And I was okay with that because that gave me time to study, gave me time to go to courses, finish these courses, gave me time to read tons of books, read tons of studies from the NIH and all these studies that I didn't even know existed. It gave me time to meet and, spend time with and be mentored by these great physicians around the country and nutritionists and dietitians that understand what many doctors and nutritionists don't understand. Only 27% of medical schools offer one single course in nutrition. So you're going to your doctor for nutrition advice, and they have only had one single course. Only 27% of them. Wow. The medical schools offer one course in 4 years of medical school. So 73%, 27 is 27%. So 73 is really 23%. 77% of medical schools offer zero. So most likely your doctor is only going to recommend what they eat. from the standard American diet that they know. They're not
Right.
going to go and take these other hours. They're not continuing ed hours, can be in anything. It could be in their specialty. They're not going to go out of their way to try to know nutrition because they don't see the value of it and they don't know that you're going to be compliant. So they're not going to spend time working on compliance with 15-minute visit when you have a stint. So
Right.
I figured I got to take control because African Americans lead in heart disease death, diabetes death, cancer death of all types of cancer. And all comprehensively, we lead in all these deaths, but we're 13% of the population. It doesn't add up. So I figured it was my responsibility to, since I knew, to share.
Speaking of that, Don, what would you say would be the root cause of African Americans? I guess because we're of heart disease, do you think the root cause is just our diet, or how do you think we got to this place? What, in your opinion?
Okay, so the African American diet is a little bit different. So especially the Southern diet, right? If you want to go by the Southern diet, if you think
Right.
about slavery and how we had to, it really goes back to slavery. If you want to go back to when we first got here and hundreds of years ago, we had to transition from having eaten, we had a mostly vegan diet on the continent. We weren't eating hog maws and pig's feet and pigs because we couldn't catch
Right.
anybody catching pigs. We didn't have nobody was doing that. Because it takes more calories to burn energy to catch an animal and kill it. And when they did that, when they did occasionally, on special occasions, have animals, they all shared it and the whole village ate it.
Right.
A little piece you got every now and then. Mostly vegan. There was nuts and berries and beans and everything. And we grew. And we were the agricultural leaders. So when we came here, the first batch of slaves were able to, they brought over the food that we ate there. They actually brought ships over that had the food because slave crops were dying. So they had the slave masters had to bring over the food to support them. And then we started planting, there. And then after a couple of generations, we began to eat, like a mess of meat and adding in leftovers and scraps. And this is how our diet progressed into this heavy fat-laden diet that we generally have as African Americans today. We have a taste and interest in kind of the soulful, more of a fatty food, more of a flavor. It's got to have flavor. And flavor usually means oil, fried chicken, these kind of things. Chicken is not health food. If you eat 2 ounces of chicken a day, you're going to have a 72% increase in pancreatic cancer risk, right? Nobody tells you that. A large epidemiological study with 500,000 people was done for 10 years to prove that very thing. But nobody tells you that. So we have a diet rich in things that kill us. And while other communities do also eat, we have a thrifty gene because we're African American that makes our propensity to get these diseases more prevalent because we are naturally supposed to have more of a, we're naturally, evolutionaries. And from an evolutionary perspective, we are much more naturally inclined to vegetables. All of us are, but African Americans tend to eat a much more high calorie, high fat diet.
Right. Well, thank you for answering that. And I think that's a really good question that hopefully somebody's watching and that'll help them to understand. I appreciate you answering that because that helps me to understand. I felt like that was part of it, but I like the way you were able to break that down and make sense out of it.
Mm-hmm. There's also the DNA. People say DNA too, Jamie, but that's not, so genetically, most, like my auntie might have had cancer. Your grandmother might have had heart disease. If somebody died of something, diabetes, we call it sugar in our community, sugar, it's not, but in actuality, that DNA does not pull the trigger. That DNA sits there like a light switch. If you don't turn it on, it's not going to express itself as that disease. So it takes 1 billion cancer cells to show itself as cancer. All cancer are abnormal cells. It takes 1 billion abnormal cells to metastasize and become cancer. If you don't eat the foods that give it food, that give it, fuel it, then it can't become cancer. It can't promote. Same thing with diabetes. Same thing with heart disease. It's the diet. It's the nutrition. What are you eating? So, it's not the prevalence of what a lot of people say. It's in my family. It's in everybody's family. That's not the point.
Right. Well, I also I was talking to my dad. My grandfathers were both sharecroppers, and I was talking. Well, I was actually talking to a friend of mine one day, and I was saying, man, it seems like people from that, like my parents or my grandparents, or even further back, it makes sense why you made the comment about vegetables and the diet just becoming over time becoming worse and becoming more fat driven, high fat driven, because it seems like, I mean, none of the problems we have today just did not exist then. Like I was talking to, my people in my family that are older than me, and they was like, it seemed like they was like some of this stuff just seems so new to us because we didn't hear about this disease and that disease. That wasn't something that we were, that was heard of like on a regular basis like it is now. I mean, it's crazy how many people that literally are dying of cancer, and it's really sad at people that especially when it's somebody that you're close to. Period.
Mhm.
But it's just it's they were just saying how they didn't do a lot of the things that we're dealing with now, that they never even experienced those things. So it makes a lot of sense. And the point of me saying that is because I wanted to go into this next question and talking about health poverty and health wealth.
Mhm.
I mean, they're kind of self-explanatory, but can you reiterate on that and just talk about the difference and what you mean when you say that?
So when I say moving someone from the health poverty to health wealth, um, it's just a change of a total comprehensive change of mindset and behaviors that move you from the needle here, which is health, disease, obesity, uh, poor diet, no activity. As far as 30 minutes of walking a day. We only walk 30 minutes a day. No going outside. That's health poverty. That's you're gonna have chronic disease and you're gonna die from it if this is what you're experiencing. And it's because of these choices you're making. And health wealth is by moving the needle, just moving the needle to making better decisions, adding more green, yellow, red, and colors to the plate. I suggest you remove all of it, of course, but for some, that's not a thing that they can do quickly unless they have a why. But moving the needle from poor, unhealthy lifestyle to a thriving, healthy lifestyle through what you put at the end of your fork in a minimal amount of physical activity and reduction of stress, no smoking, quite a few things. But specifically, I'm talking about health wealth with food, nutrition, and exercise.
Most definitely. Well, I think that I feel like COVID may have woke a lot of people up. I know it woke me up because I was like, I wasn't in a good place, like health wise. Like I mean, I work all the time, but that's not the equivalent of that. As a matter of fact, I probably was more ran down than I ever been in my life. Even I'm not even old enough to be saying that right now, but but I was not in a good place health wise. I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't working out. Um, Almost like I felt like I was invincible. Like I just forgot about my health. Really, I did. I really did. I just felt like, oh well, and I felt like I could do everything I've always done. And I think that they would have, if I don't like that COVID is here, and I don't think this is a great thing that has happened at all. But I think that they would have come where I would have had like a breakdown physically because I was just really driving myself, working all the time, not eating healthy, and I always find myself making that excuse. Oh, I'm a musician. We eat whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah,
We
right. Mm-hmm.
eating at night.
I'm an
Eating
artist. This is what
cheeseburgers.
we do. Yeah.
Right. But then also I have to say in the last 10 years, a lot of people that are very close to in this business have died. They've died and it's got a lot to do with health. Musicians are not the healthiest minded people. I think sometimes we get so zoned in on what music and almost like we're invincible to we don't realize that so if I don't take anything else from today, I want to start transition, and I'm gonna reach out to you after the show too, most after
Right.
this, most definitely. But anyway, so I just wanted to mention that. So let's keep things going.
Mm-hmm.
I call this segment rapid fire because we be flying through these questions. I'm gonna change
Okay.
the name from the COVID section to rapid fire. So
Right.
what inspired you to write a book or write the book that you wrote?
So, I was doing meal prep and I do food services and other parts of the business and product selling. So, folks were asking me when I would go to the catering or do the vegetation, what's the recipe? How can I get that loaded lasagna? How can I make that mac and please? How do you do that? So I did it as a function of growing the brand and providing information to the community that was palatable. So my focus, while I do have clients from all walks of life and all races and ethnicities, my focus and my passion is around the African American communities of color, because we're the ones who are most impacted by COVID and all these chronic diseases because of what we're putting at the end of our fork. And because my food is very flavorful and tasty, and because clients kept asking me, or people I ran into, gosh, I wish you had a cookbook. Okay, so here you go. Here's a cookbook. It took me about a year. And I was already making these recipes and doing things anyway. So I just put them in a book, and I'm a writer anyway, but theater writing is different than this. So it took me a minute there's more technical writing, right? So I had to get the recipes, and I'm super picky and detaily. So I had to be it took me a minute. And then I found a graphic designer over in London. Actually, I never met him, named Paul. And we did something on Readsy, which is a writer's platform. And he did all the design layout for the book. And I just took all the pictures because I've been catering and cooking for years. So I had a bank of pictures, and all the pictures that I took were from a high quality iPhone, and he was able to lay them out. And I did anecdotes because I'm a writer for each section. And I found some kids at a farm called Maranatha Farms in Greenville, all African-American kids working at an organic minority-owned farm. So I put them as my subject dividers. Because if you don't have a why, your greatest why should be our children, because we have to think about the environment, global warming, and climate change, and how that affects. If you don't care about your own health, please leave something behind for our children.
That's right. Well, that's awesome. Well, and when you said, I'm just curious, how long did it take you to write the book? Because I know how detail oriented you are. Just out of curiosity.
So it took me for me to get so I'm on the second one, by the way, now. But this was Flavor My Plate. The next was Flavor My Tailgate for men, to get their tailgate food.
I like that.
Anthony played football, so I, got to do the Flavor My Tailgate. Nice bookend. Took me about a year. It took me about a year to get it. It took me a few months. It took me about 5 or 6 months to write it. It's because it's technical writing with the recipes and the amount of, and I had to keep going back through. So when I cook with feeling, you have to cook with measurement. I cook with a little dab of this. You know how we do it in the community, a little dab of this, a little sprinkle of that. No, 1/4 cup of this, 1/4 teaspoon of that, 1/2 teaspoon. So it took me a while to get those things written down as I did recipes. So there are about 50-something recipes in there. And they're all flavorful. They're all plant-based, but they're very, very flavorful. So it took me about 5 or 6 months to write it. Then it took the process of the layout and the graphic design and me wanting to look a certain way. And Paul was in London, so we were always on a different time schedule. And when I want to talk to him, he's at the pub. He's at the pub. Paul stayed at the pub, okay? He has a wife, and then he went on holiday, because in England, they go on holiday for 2 months. So it took a while to get it, completed. But the writing time is about 5 to 6 months.
Oh, that's awesome. That didn't take you no time. That's good. Like, I hear people
talking. No, it didn't take a lot of time, but I also don't do anything else. I do this. My mission is to radicalize wellness. So Urban Eats, the entire brand, all I do is vegucate. I study, vegucate clients, meal health coaching. I'm a coach, and I also do the cooking. So I don't have anything else that's competing with it. I even put the plate, everything else to the side. We got to help the community. We're dropping like flies. So
that's right. What was one of the biggest hurdles you faced as a business owner during COVID?
Honestly, during COVID.
Say that again.
Because everybody, like you, Jamie, our community was struck by COVID harder, and has been because of our pre-existing conditions and our comorbidities. So our African Americans, people of color, my clients were not primarily African American, but suddenly I got a lot of us coming to me wanting to have meal prep. So my business actually got bigger during COVID. I didn't have the shrinkage problem. Now, the concern was making sure that I didn't want anybody to be dependent. I'd rather teach a man to fish than keep giving him fish, right? So I had to change the model. Look, I'm going to do this for a while because my meal prep is supposed to be for 2 months of the year. I reopened it because it's supposed to be for Kickstart to help you with the beginning of the year. But because of COVID happening, I opened it up in late February and let it continue up until last week. People, I mean, I had droves of people. I didn't have a problem.
No, not last week, darn.
Done. But hold on, but there's more. But I have now changed the model because every week I did a survey. And in those surveys, I was, what I've learned is that people wanted to pick their items that they wanted. I used to control that, me, I'm a little controlling. So I used to do 10, Jamie knows me very well, guys. When you're a producer, you're a little controlling anyway. So, and a writer, that's the problem. But I had 10 meals, and every week I changed the menu. And every week some people would come back after 2 weeks and say, oh, I wish I had those vegan chicken and dumplings again. Or gosh, when are you going to have the mushroom piccata again? And I'm like, well, I don't recycle. There are 80,000 plants. I don't ever have to come back to that.
Right.
But they're like, but please come back. I'm like, well, get the cookbook, get that. No, we want you to cook it. I want to taste it. So as my surveys indicated, after a certain amount of time, I just started pulling the favorites. And then I gathered them. And so now starting October 9th, we'll have Flavor Fave Selects where you can go to the drop down and you can pick from a list of like 8 items. And you can pick and you can pick up. Instead of picking up once weekly, you can pick up 2 times a week or 3 times a week. Get what you want, order it a la carte versus having to buy $125 a week and 10 meals. You can buy an individual barbecue jackfruit. You can buy your loaded lasagna. You can buy in sizes for a family of 4. I don't make small portions. You have to buy a 32-ounce lidded container or 8x8 casserole. So I wasn't impacted by COVID. I actually changed my business model because I didn't want people to become dependent on a weekly meal prep when they sometimes just wanted to try it. Sometimes you just want to try it. So I'm building that on my website now. I just finished part of it, but October 9th is a rollout for the drop down for that. And then the 26th is going to shipping. It's going to a shipping model.
That's great. Because I was gonna say I'm sure that's probably helpful too for people just getting like me. That was one of the things I was nervous about. I was like, I want to try it, but I don't know if I want to buy this much of it because I don't know if I'm gonna waste it. So that's awesome that you're giving the option. Right.
So now you can pick. You can say, okay, that sounds interesting. Vegan chicken and dumplings. What's that gonna taste like? Click.
That sounds real good to me.
So I pick things that are warm and familiar. That from your grandmother's table you might want, like at your grandma's table, you're gonna remember it, and it's got to have that warm feeling. Especially here in the South, and as African Americans, we like food that feels like home because we bring those foods to all of our sad occasions and happy occasions. So I tried to bring those flavors without bringing all the high fat and the high calories.
Most definitely. Just since we're talking about, Kristen says she loves barbecue jackfruit. I was going to tell you.
Hey, Kristen. So, Kristen, there's some I have the best. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why mine's the best. Because I have I do a 2-technique treatment of it. Most people that do the jackfruit, they use the young jackfruit and they cut it up and they put the barbecue sauce. No. I make my own barbecue sauce for one thing. I have 2 different barbecue sauces that I make. And I also do a dry rub and a wet mapi, as if it's really pork. So you've got to do that because it's supposed to taste like pulled pork. And I used to like pulled pork. So I had to do a dry rub and technique and then a wet rub and so you dry it out, season it heavily, dry it out, then you do the mapi as if you're doing meat. And then you provide it for the customer. Then that's barbecue jackfruit. So mine's the best, Kristen. You can see it on site.
She says her mouth is watering.
It's good. It's good.
I just, that's funny we're talking about the barbecue jackfruit because I just seen that online and I was like, barbecue jack, but it looks so much like barbecue. When it's finished, I couldn't believe it. I was like, you have to be kidding me. How is that a plant or a fruit that looks that similar to? Now, what is the fruit that's stinky? Everybody keep talking about the stinky fruit that you can use in the vegan vegetarian vegan. It can substitute as a meat.
There's so many. Listen, there are 80,000 plants. Did I tell you there were 80,000 plants? Not 8,000. 80,000. So I forgot the stinky one. That's hard to get. Listen, Nobody needs to do all that work. I provide. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it. It'll come to me during this interview, I'm sure. But hopefully, it'll come to me before it wraps up. I think it's called. I don't use it because I don't have to. I have 79,000 other ones.
Right.
So who cares? I get the ones that are accessible, affordable, and staples that we can use every day. I make a corned beef. I make a vegan hash with the crumbles that taste like corned beef hash. I make a chili with soy chorizo that tastes just like and it's got sweet roasted sweet potato. Girl, bye. Forget that little stinky fruit, monk fruit. I don't know what it is.
Listen, you told me, I'm listening. I'm like, potatoes, and like that's my kind of food right there. Like, it's not potatoes, but look like resembling. Well, I've seen your food online, and I was like, Dawn, she good because she got this food looking like regular food.
And that's the point. See, that's the point. Nobody wants to have black bean salad and smoothies all the time. I enjoy that because that's who I am, and I love food, and I literally have been on this journey for a while. So I am very comfortable with just, if I had to have that would be fine because I'm going to season the heck out of black bean. But when you're coming into this vegan, you wanted something familiar. When I said the vegan chicken and dumplings or the loaded lasagna, you were eyeball went to the side, and Kristen was like, I love barbecue jackfruit because it's familiar. We've got to start. You're going to fail this journey for two reasons. If you don't have a why, and if you don't have to start it with good food, because you can be very easily turned off.
That's right.
If you start off, and you can't start off with fried everything, and then you got to have some color on the plate because it's still about a balanced plate. Because it's a balance of nutrients and antioxidants and fiber and vitamins and minerals. That has to be no matter what kind of lifestyle you're on. But when you add plants, when you add meat and dairy to the mix, you're adding health degrading foods that promote chronic disease. When you add plants to the plate, the more plants to the plate you bring to the party, which I mean whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and legumes and beans and nuts, you're bringing health promoting foods to the party. You're bringing stuff that's good for the gut biome, stuff that are good fighters inside your gut that kill abnormal cells. They clean out your cells. We're not bringing things that add problems. We're bringing things that remove problems to the plate.
Right.
So it's got to taste good. It's got to look good, and it's got to be healthy. And it's not hard to do that and save $5,000 a year. It isn't. And I have it's in here. Just in my book, you can get that. But I'll recommend some other books that's on my site that are free resources that I can take you to. If you went to my website, I have a list of free resources and websites to go to.
Okay. I can't wait to get the book. I really can't. As soon as we get off, I'm gonna be like,
look, it's here. I'll send it in the mail to you, or you can pick it up. We're not that far apart. You're in Spartanburg, so it's not like you're a million miles away. But if you want it, I can drop it in the mail. Doesn't matter.
Okay, most definitely. I was going to ask you for someone. Where is someone that you now? I mean, and this is this is my own question. Where would you recommend that? Where do you shop at? Where should if I start this journey? Do you just go to a regular or do you grocery store or produce stand, or where do you start?
So for one thing, I start with one of my favorite foods, and if they're my favorite sides, what are my favorite sides? If you're a meat carnivore person and you love fake, meat, you need to go to a store like a Publix or any other store that has the fake meat products. But it's got to be the ones that have flavor. Like No Evil Foods out of Asheville is in Whole Foods and Publix and other stores. No Evil. Now, that has a lot of, and Field Roast is another product that is very flavorful, that is vegan. But the top one that sells a lot, and it's at Walmart now. Listen, cheap. $3.99 versus $7 at Whole Foods. Gardein products. If you're trying to transition and have that meaty flavor in your carnivore, those are good places to go. Walmart has Beyond Burgers now. Now they're high in fat. If you have heart disease, I do not recommend the Beyond Burger because they're very high. They have saturated fat in them. They add it to it. So we don't, it's still better than a dead cow, but it's still, if you have heart disease, I mean, why are you eating grease anyway? So anyway,
true.
If you like, I shop at Aldi's. I shop at Malden Open Air Market. I shop at Maranatha Farms, which is I try to support my local farmers. I shop at Aldi's a lot because it's cheap and it's organic. I don't have to think about it. I know it's not sprayed with pesticides and it's dirt cheap. I'm not spending. I go to Whole Foods if I'm looking for a certain. When I was doing meal prep, I went to Whole Foods to get the Dino Lasanito kale. I like a certain kind of kale. I don't like pearly kale personally, so I didn't allow my clients to have it. So I would get the Lasanito kale that looks more like a collard. If my farms didn't have it, I would go to Whole Foods to get it. I go to Trader Joe's quite a bit because they're a medium, price point, and they have a little more variety, and they have a lot of some vegan options in their frozen section, and they have it on the shelf. They have the groundless crumbles, they have soy chorizo, they have quite a few vegan options for you, and I go there for that. So I go to Trader Joe's, Aldi's, and if you're looking for fake meats, you can go to Walmart. I go to Walmart as well. You can get a can of black beans for 50 cents at Walmart.
So, in other words, you're saying that this idea that I have in my mind, I have to go to the special place. That's not the case. I can go to these are all stores that I shop at now and buy the bad food I shouldn't be buying. So I can go to these stores and buy good food.
It's not bad food because you didn't. It's not bad food. It's bad. You don't know what you don't know. So don't punish yourself. So I want everybody who's listening and those who are listening, don't think, oh my God, it's bad food, because then you're gonna feel like a child and like sneaky if you're eating. No, it's food that is not health promoting. It's food that's health degrading. You want to eat food that's health promoting. So you look for the state. You want it, and it doesn't all have to be. You can't eat all grapes and broccoli. You got to eat some brown rice because you need some browns, some greens, some reds, some yellow. Be creative. And if you don't like cooking, they have Sweet Earth. There's another brand, Gardein, Field Roast. All these products are right in Walmart in the frozen food section. So you go in the vegetable section, and right there is there. You can get bread that's accidentally vegan. It's called Dave's Big Dave's bread. It's accidentally vegan. It's not even intentional that he did it. Doesn't have it in it. So I just read the back of the packages. And if you want to make yourself a vegan grilled cheese sandwich, I suggest the VioLife. VioLife, VIO Life, is a very, very close to cheese flavor. Diet cheese is disgusting. I'm not a fan. I won't say disgusting. I hesitate from saying disgusting. It just doesn't melt. What am I eating? We're not even melting. Get away from me. So no.
Get away from me.
Get away from me. So you can be very creative. There are a lot of. So I go to the regular stores. Take away the mind that you have to go to Whole Foods. You have to spend $1 million, and you got to go to specialty stores. If you should support local farms and local businesses, absolutely. But Aldi's is organic. Aldi's is already organic. Trader Joe's has I'm a regular Trader Joe's and Aldi's girl, and I'm a regular farm girl. So that's my kind of life that I do. And I save a lot of money. I save thousands of dollars a year.
Okay. Well, that is a reassuring for me, because that's always been my fear, is the money. Oh gosh, it's gonna be so expensive. And people have always said that. So we're right here at the end of the show. So I do want to ask you this. This question is so important to me, and it is because I know you wear a lot of hats. That's what I wanted to say. So what does the future hold for you as an entrepreneur, an author, a nutritionist, a plant-based specialist, and a playwright? And that's just to name a few. Dawn, you have a wealth of knowledge, and you're an extremely talented person. So I never told you that. I've always felt that way about you, and it's always been a pleasure to have a friendship with you, because it's been many times where you just, I was talking about something and you gave me information. I'm like, how does she even know that? It's like you always educate yourself on that stuff.
But thank you very much. What's next? So in order for me to be effective at this plant-based, this vegetator, as a vegetator in chief, I'm growing a brand. So the Urban Eats brand is just going to continue to grow. I cannot be the playwright or the author that I want to be, because I love that. I'm an artist, right? And I love music. I can't do that. I can't do both. So I had to make a decision. So I've made a decision to focus on the health of my community and growing this brand, which will ultimately help the community as well, because of where my focus areas are. So looking again to start domestic shipping, and that's going to be an animal within itself, and to continue being a vegetator. I actually had done an event in Greenville called Eat, Drink, and Disrupt Chronic Disease Summit, and I'd done it in New York as well. So I have done events in New York, and I did an event here in Greenville. I was widening my gaze and starting to do summits in other cities before COVID. So that was going to be for 2020, but we'll look at 2021 and see what that brings as far as the Eat, Drink, Disrupt summits. I know I'm working with Dr. Milton Mills and Dr. Baxter Montgomery. Dr. Baxter Montgomery is an interventional cardiologist out of Houston, African American. And then Dr. Milton Mills is one of the foremost doctors in the country with plant-based, and he's African American. Both of them are African American. And I do some work and tour and work with them. And I'll be doing some things in the future with them. And I always partner with a doctor so that I can have that credential so they can tell you kind of the physical, the biological things that I might not be able to bring credential to that is respected enough. So I always work with physicians. So we're just going to continue to try to radicalize wellness with education and flavor in communities all around the country, and we'll see where it goes. We need to take each other's hand and help each other. And I know how to feed you, so I'll continue feeding you guys.
Well, I'm excited about October 9th because I know I'm going to be reaching out and putting in my order to start my own personal journey. Just so before we wrap up, one question I have for you: how do you go about delivering, or do you pick up? Like, how does that go? Because some people may be trying to figure that out too, that are watching.
Right. So I used to, when I did meal prep for those months and months, which y'all missed it, not child every year. That does come back around January and February every year because it's a kickstart. But for just recently, no more deliveries. It's pickup only, and you'll see that, or it's shipping. So you can pick up or ship. Your shipping options are a little bit less limited. I wouldn't suggest shipping if you're in Spartanburg or in the community, because to me, that's a waste of money. You're paying for shipping when you can drive. But you'll have a couple of days during the week, a Tuesday and Thursday, 6 or 7 o'clock, 6 or 7, Tuesday and Thursdays. And then you'll have a Saturday. I think it's, I don't know what time it is. I can't remember. 2 to 3. You'll be able to pick up starting October 9th. But you'll have to schedule that pickup time. When you do your order, it'll drop down a thing and tell you to pick a time. And then you'll just come pick up. So that's for local folks. You just have to pick up at the kitchen, which is a commissary kitchen. It's a shared use kitchen. So I'm never there. The reason you can't pick up whenever you want is because it's a shared use kitchen. So there are 14 other chefs there. So so it's a commissary kitchen that everybody books their time. And in doing so, I had to book my time because it's a cost per hour kitchen. And it's a DHEC approved kitchen. So I have my freezer and refrigerator there. I cook there. And you'll be able to come by and pick up during the appointed hours. And somebody will be there with your order to give it to you to the curbside safely and COVID friendly.
Yay, that's awesome. So now can you tell us where they can go and place these orders at again?
Yeah, Urban is it's like fresh herbs. HERBAN-eats.com. Urban Eats. Urban with an H. Like fresh herbs, like parsley. Cilantro. Herban-eats.com. Not to be confused with that place in Spartanburg that sells dead animals that has stolen my name. I'm going to say that on this live because I have the federal mark. And they do not. I've had the federal, Jamie, you know I'm thorough. I have sent cease and desist, but another conversation for another day. Urban.com. I do not sell I don't sell lobster mac and cheese. I don't sell deadly things. They do, and they try to play on my name with an apostrophe.
Oh man.
Okay. Anyway, so you have to be careful when I say all that to say be careful when you're typing it in, so you don't get thinking I'm in Spartanburg selling burgers and lobsters and stuff.
Right.
That are high in fat and cholesterol. That are high in cholesterol. In fact,
and she's not deep frying Oreos neither.
I'm not deep frying Oreos either. But I don't have to because I make a chocolate zucchini bread, a double chocolate zucchini bread.
I saw that the other day, and it was really good. It looks really. It looked like chocolate pound cake.
It's like a devil's food cake meets a brownie meets a chocolate pound cake with zucchini in it.
That's exactly what it looked like. I was like,
"What's zucchini?" Because just like carrots and carrot cake, you don't taste carrot. I don't understand how it works, but I just am thankful that it works, and you can get that. But that's a treat. But anyway, Urban HERBAN-eats.com. You go to the website, and then you'll find all that you need right there. You'll find the links and everything. So again, not till October 9th, but you can get my books, you can get products, you can get coaching services. any number of things. I can walk you through the process of this lifestyle to get you where you want to be and to reduce your risk factors for chronic disease by up to 90%. Okay, we don't need to be living with diseases that we're bringing on by our choices on the fork. We need to change this.
Now, if someone wants to reach out to you for coaching, do they need to go to that same site, and is it available on all the information is on there? Okay.
Yep. So, everything's there. They just have to click and see our services, our products, and then there's the shop page. Everything's there. The website's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty extensive. We're constantly going and changing it, and you can become a subscriber to Urban Eats, and if you do that, you'll get a 10% discount on some of the services and things we have coming up. So, awesome. Yeah, just go to urban-eats.com.
Okay, and we're going to be seeing a book pretty soon. What did you say it's called? Flavor My Tailgate.
Yeah, we have Flavor My Plate, which is right here, which is so corny that I'm so shameless. Of course, I'm shameless.
No, it's not. I listen. I'll be putting myself up too.
Yeah, then we have Flavor My Tailgate, your tasty vegan guide to game time. That'll be coming up.
So you guys,
that should be out by I don't know if it's going to make it out by the end of the year because I've launched this shipping model. This national shipping model is pretty hairy. It's a lot, but I don't know why I did this to myself. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But the local is where anyway. We'll see at the end of the year if we get that out by then. I'd like to have it out before Christmas, but if not, I'll push it to spring. Right when it's game time, when people can actually go outside, and potentially next year, hopefully, have tailgates.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for taking time out your schedule because I know that you are super, super busy. And I really appreciate you taking time out to come on the show and talk about educate me and anybody else that might have been tuned in tonight. We really appreciate you. We're going to do one more shout out to our sponsors and we'll close out right after that. Let's see here. I was so wrapped up, I got confused. All right. So we're so thankful to have Krakatoa Coffee Company as one of our sponsors. We also have Vurchoo Apparel, Big Ted's House of Drums, Bye Bye Belly, Paw Alkaline Water, Upstate Graphics and Imaging, Crab to Go, and Customer Creations by Lesley. Folks, make sure you tune in next week. We'll have special guest, Mr. Tony Taylor, currently the Chief of Police in Williamston, South Carolina. We'll be talking about law enforcement and his journey during COVID. So tune in on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Live with Jamie Wright. Again, thank you so very much, Dawn, for and I'll be in touch with you. I'm gonna hit you up as soon as we get off here. I'm gonna send you a message and reach out. And okay. I definitely want to go ahead and start getting things going. And it's good to see you. It's been a long time. Seems like it's been a while since I saw you. I know you've been busy out here making sure that you help keep people alive and also educating them. And we really appreciate it. I really do. I'm very grateful to have you in the community and to be. I can tell just from talking to you, and I know you're a person. I know you personally, but just from talking to you, I can tell you made a lot of sacrifices to get to this place, and it means that that's very near and dear to your heart to make sure that people are living a healthy life, and we appreciate it. I wish there was more.
No, I appreciate you bringing me on to this platform. For those who may not have heard of these things, we got to help each other. That's what it's. We've got to. If we're not going to look out for each other, who will? So
that's right. Most definitely. Well, you take care, and I will see you on October 9th when I come and get my barbecue.
Yeah, and don't forget, send me your address so I can send you the book.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.